Welcome into Hockey Sense. Welcome back. Brought to you by First Community. Great to have you with us as we continue to build the momentum here on Hockey Sense. A fun show once again for you today. And to differentiate what this podcast is versus Cam and Strick, just so you understand. You know, Cam and Strick, Cam Jansen's usually sitting here. I'm there. And we BS for a long time before we bring on one of the biggest names in hockey. This is certainly NHL-centric. We kick things around the entire league. It's not just Blues. But considering we're here in St. Louis and I am a member of the Blues broadcast team, we are heavy St. Louis Blues. And we will be once again on this edition, and I hope you enjoy it. Mathieu Joseph is going to join us here in just a couple of minutes. Looking forward to this conversation because he is a guy who's going to make the team. He's got a spot on the team, most likely somewhere in your top 9. Could certainly get pushed down to a fourth-line role, but he's a guy that I see in the lineup when the season begins. He's making just under $3 million. He's played over 350 career NHL games. He's won a couple of Stanley Cups. He's been on teams with great players. He's been on bad teams. I mean, he's coming from Ottawa, and you think about going from Tampa Bay, where you're playing with some of these legendary names who are going to wind up being in the Hall of Fame, like Stamkos and Kucherov and Braden Point and Victor Hedman and Andre Vasilevsky, and the list goes on. And then you go to Ottawa, and you've got Brady Tkachuk and pretty much everybody else trying to figure out who they are as NHL players, although I like that Jake Sanderson a lot on defense. And I like Ottawa, man. I've always said this about Ottawa. For all you Ottawa fans that are tuning in, maybe because you want to hear from Mathieu Joseph, Ottawa has always been one of my favorite teams, really going, way back. I've always enjoyed watching Ottawa play. They've had, some good years where they obviously have gone to the Stanley Cup final. They went to the final in 2007, lost to Anaheim. They had some good teams with Erik Karlsson. But there's always been some St. Louis connection, too, with Chris Weidman playing there, with Brady Tkachuk being there. Tarasenko being there last year, not David Perron being in Ottawa. I'll be paying attention to the Ottawa Senators. I want to see Ottawa get to the postseason. I've said this forever, that the hockey fan is being deprived of seeing Brady Tkachuk play in the Stanley Cup playoffs, so hopefully we see that. I went out to the rink yesterday for the first time. First time since all the guys have kind of been in there. And listen, the rookie tournament starts tonight. They're putting the C on the chest of Zach Bolduc. And listen, I know some people were asking Steve Konowalchuk, who is the head coach of the American Hockey League, they're asking him about why they made that decision to put the C on Zachary Bolduc. But, this is not a decision that's made by him. This is a organizational decision. As Konowalchuk pointed out, this is truly something they think about, and it makes sense. It, I think, allows him to settle in and take some ownership of the team and to be excited about going out there and playing. Because let's face it, guys like Bolduc, maybe to a lesser extent Zach Dean, because Dean wasn't drafted here, but Bolduc obviously, and Dean at the same time, Dean looked really good on the ice yesterday. I expect him to have a good couple of games coming up this weekend. The Minnesota Wild are here. I was talking to Billy Guerin a little bit over text. He's bringing his team here. You're going to have the Chicago Blackhawks here. If you remember last year, the tournament was in Minnesota, and Connor Bedard played. His first ever game was against St. Louis, I think, right? And he scored a hat trick. Remember, everyone got all crazy? So you don't have Bedard participating in this year's event, but you've got Frank Nazar and some other top high-end prospects that are going to be representing the other teams outside of St. Louis. But for a guy like Bolduc, who obviously wants to make a push to make the team, and I like Bolduc, man. We haven't even seen what Bolduc is capable of being at the NHL level because he is a shooter. He's a guy who made a living in junior on the power play, certainly could score 5-on-5 as well, and dominated at that level. But he's a guy who can really shoot, specifically off the one-timer, has a great one-timer. And, last year, it's not like he was finding himself on the power play on the right side as a left-hand shot, just bombs away with one tease. It just wasn't happening. So we really haven't seen his full complement of what he brings to the table from a skill standpoint and from an offensive standpoint. But we did see some of that creativity, his ability to finish. I mean, the goals that he scored last year were really nice goals. and he finishes really nicely. And so that's what he is. This guy can put the puck in the net. He can create offensively off the pass. He's skilled. So you got to find a way to get guys like Bolduc some confidence. I'd like to see him make the team. I really would. You want to start getting some of these guys in. We'll see where Dvorsky is at. Dvorsky obviously being a year behind from a professional standpoint than Bolduc. I don't see Dvorsky making the team out of camp. I do see him play some games this season, and once he gets an opportunity, who knows, maybe he never goes back down. And we all know this guy's going to be a really, really talented NHL player for a long time and a huge part of the Blues' future. But if you heard my conversation that Cam and I had with Doug Armstrong on the Cam and Strick podcast about a week or two ago, and he talked about, even with Jake Neighbors, he felt like maybe he made the mistake of keeping him out of camp versus sending him down, then bringing him back up. I think it creates a little bit of a different mindset for a player when you keep them and then you send them down. I think that forces the player to accept the demotion a little bit differently versus telling a kid in training camp, hey, listen, you're one of the last cuts. You're so close. You're right there. And you could easily make the team right now, but we want you to go down and play some games, get some confidence, get on the power play big minutes, and then we're going to get you back up here. That creates a little bit of a different psyche, I think, for the player versus, hey, you did everything you needed to do. You made the team. Congratulations. Go out there and work hard. And then all of a sudden, your minutes continue to get reduced. Then you're a healthy scratch. Now you're getting bag skated every day. You don't feel a part of the team. You wonder confidence-wise, hey, am I good enough to play? When will I get my confidence back? And then you get sent down. And now your confidence is really rocked. And in the case of Jake Neighbors, he did everything he needed to do when he got sent down a few years back. Went down there, played well, eventually came back up, and everything's been great ever since then. And we'll see if Neighbors can, elevate his offensive totals from what we saw a year ago, where he had 27 goals, obviously had a high shooting percentage, very good on the power play. So can he improve his 5-on-5 numbers? But the thing about Jake Neighbors from last year is that he showed the ability to score in so many different ways. And I said this over and over last year. You saw him score the net front goals, the deflections, the rebounds, the ability to get body position, the strength to get to loose pucks, to find loose pucks, the instincts to track and find loose pucks in front of the net, and score a lot of goals right around the blue paint. But then he was scoring breakaway goals. He was scoring goals off the rush. He was scoring fast break goals in transition off of turnovers. He was breaking away from defenders and showing some speed that I think maybe a lot of people were wondering if he had. And I think he showed that he can really skate. He can get moving when he's at his full speed. So I love Jake Neighbors. I love his game. We had him on here. If you want to hear the interview that we had on with Jake Neighbors, it was one of our first shows that we did here inside Half Coast Studios when we started transitioning Hockey Sense to full-on podcast. So check that out. Jake Neighbors joined us a few weeks ago. We had some good conversations. Dylan Holloway. I saw Dylan Holloway yesterday. And, we had him on the show a few weeks ago. Met Philip Broberg, the two Oilers. I was joking with him, calling them Messier and Gretzky, or Gretzky and Messier coming from Edmonton. Because I feel like the analysis, to an extent, I think people need to pump the brakes a little bit. I think Broberg certainly has a chance to potentially be a star. You never know how it's going to play out, but he was drafted very high. Holloway, a first-round pick, drafted high. But Broberg, as a defenseman, I think is going to get an opportunity that I think people probably envisioned for himself, or he envisioned for himself when he was drafted. That he would be a power play one guy. Obviously the ability to skate and get up ice and transition the puck and make plays and look comfortable with the puck, close guys defensively, use his skating to his advantage. He can really skate. Holloway can really skate. But Holloway, he's got a little more versatility in terms of, I could see him being a third-line guy. I could see him playing games where he's a first-line guy. I could see him being on the second power play, first power play. He's going to have some of that versatility too. But I think he's going to have to play into his role a little bit to see how and where he truly fits in. And he's going to fit in, and he's going to have an important role. But what exactly that role looks like, I think we may not know until the season begins, or maybe even 10, 15 games into the season. So you let him settle into it. I think Broberg, you kind of know right off the bat, he's going to get an opportunity to play with Justin Falk. And like I said, be on the power play and, and showcase his ability and his skills. I feel like a guy like Scotty Perunovich, man, is coming into camp with a little bit of a chip. I don't think he's very happy about the situation. His career, just in terms of where it's gone up to this point, and I don't want to create any controversy. That's not what I'm saying at all. He didn't tell me he's upset. I can just read body language sometimes. And these guys are competitors. They read the writing on the wall. So if you're a Scotty Perunovich and, you're a Hobie Baker winner, a second-round pick, you turn pro, you're dominating at the American League level. People were calling him not just the best defenseman in the American League before he was called up his rookie season. They were calling him the best player down in the AHL. I mean, that's how good this guy was playing. Raving about this guy. And then he dealt with the injuries, and he just, took some time, obviously, to get back on track. Last year was his first full season, and he got some opportunities down the stretch, specifically second half of the year, where you saw him on the power play. He had some real good moments, I thought, where you can see that shake and bake, his ability to beat the number one or the first layer of forecheck. He can move the puck, but you want to see him shoot. He's undersized. We all know that he's going to be up against it defensively. It's not going to be his strength to out-muscle guys. He's going to have to use his intelligence and some creativity and skating, angling, having a good stick, all the things that you're going to need to establish for yourself as a defenseman in this league when you are undersized. And so that's where we're at with Scotty Perunovich. So who is he going to be? What is he going to be? This is a huge year for him. Can he solidify himself among the top six, be in the lineup, game in and game out, and, compete to run the number one power play? I don't want to sit here and say he's going to run the second power play. I think Broberg's going to get an opportunity right off the bat. But listen, Scotty Perunovich, he's going to have something to say about this as well. Just like Tucker is going to have an opportunity to have a say as to whether or not he sticks with the roster and makes the team. I'm curious about, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, Mathieu Joseph's brother, P.O. Joseph. Podge, they call him. POJ. This guy's pretty much played strictly in the NHL the last couple of seasons. I think he played maybe 2 games down in the American League last year. So I don't know what those circumstances were. I don't know if he was rehabbing an injury or if he went down on a conditioning assignment or if he got sent down because he wasn't playing or he wasn't playing up to expectations. Whatever the situation is, he spent most of the year playing in Pittsburgh and being in the lineup. I could see him being the 6 or 7 in terms of how that plays out. So, yeah, you have some competition. Everyone talks about the competition for the Blues in camp. And, yeah, there is competition. It's not high-end competition. The way I look at the competition is, can a guy like Bolduc steal a spot? Can he push down a guy like Schenn if Schenn got pushed to the wing? If Buchnevich moves to the middle? If Holloway can play in the middle? Can you move a Schenn down? Can you push a guy like Brandon Saad down the lineup? Saad's a guy who can play on the third line or the first line. Doesn't really matter to me. His game doesn't change. He's going to end up with 20 to 25 goals regardless. He does it every year. And I enjoy watching him play. He's the offensive version of Nick Leddy. Their games just doesn't change hardly at all. But so that's a competition there. Can Dvorsky obviously compete for a roster spot? Can what is this? Alexander, Texier. Well, what is he all about? What does he bring to the table? Is he as good as some people think he can be? Can he lock down a top 9 spot? Can Holloway lock down a top 9 spot? Is Radek Faksa going to get pushed down to the 4th line? Can he solidify himself in the top 9? These are all guys that are going to be on the team. It's just a matter of where are they going to fit and how are the puzzle pieces going to come together. I asked a bunch of guys yesterday if they know who they're going to be playing with come training camp, and they really don't. They haven't been placed in lines. They haven't been put in lines or anything like that when they're just basically playing shinny or having a captain's practice right now. So we won't know. And then you get to the Nathan Walkers and some of these guys that are obviously pushing for spots. Is Oscar Sundqvist able to get himself healthy enough to be available when the season begins? That's some of the competition you're looking at. Can Pierre-Olivier Joseph earn a spot among your top 7 defensemen and beat out a guy like Tucker? How does Ryan Suter look? Does he have the 6th defensive spot locked down? Because the way I look at the defensive pairs right now for the Blues, I think you're going to keep Leddy and Colton Parayko together. They had great success last season. There's no reason to split that up. And I think Broberg's going to be in your top 4. They're paying him like a top 4 defenseman, essentially, making north of $4 million. So you give him that opportunity, I think, on the left side to play with Justin Falk, with no Krug available. Krug obviously occupied that spot a lot over the course of the last couple of years. So then you get to your third pair, and I think that's where you have a guy like Matt Kessel, who, as the season progresses, I don't just label him as a 5 or 6. He's so strong defensively. And when he's on his game, there is a level of trust that I think he's earned from the coaching staff that he could elevate himself into a top 4 spot. I'm not saying he'll start there. I'm not saying he's going to finish there. But there will be stretches during the season where I think he's going to push to get more minutes. Or it could be a difficult year for him. You just never know for a guy like Kessel. Another year, obviously, opposing teams will know a little bit of who he is, and he's not going to be able to sneak up and surprise anybody. But we all know what he brings to the table. He should have that 5th spot on defense locked down with Ryan Suter. And I think Suter's a great compliment for him, putting him, with a veteran guy who's been around for a long time, almost 1,500 career games for Suter. Is Suter capable at 39 years old? Is he capable of playing every game? Those are questions that only he is going to be able to answer. I don't think the coaching staff knows. I don't think management truly knows. I think they have an idea. They know what they're getting. I'm not fully convinced that they sign or bring in Ryan Suter if they knew they were going to get Philip Broberg. I don't know if that was something that they felt like they would necessarily need, but they have him. He gives them great depth. And certainly another component and another player on the back end who can play and has a ton of experience. And that's only going to help the Blues as they try to get back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So if I look at your top 6 forwards right now, and I'm going to throw Saad in for the sake of how it fits in right now with Thomas and Kyrou, along with Neighbors, Shen, Buchnevich. So again, that's where you get to Bolduc. I don't think he's looking to come in and steal a 4th-line spot. He's looking to, secure a spot really among your top 9. I say top 6, but top 6 has kind of changed a little bit now to where it's really about your top 9. It's not necessarily about your top 6 as much as maybe it used to be. I think the role of a third-line player, I think the expectations of a third-line player maybe has changed compared to where it once was. I think now you're expected to be able to play in the offensive end, to be able to make plays when the puck's on your stick, to be able to play with good players, to contribute offensively. So not just be a third-line guy whose primary goal is to keep the puck out of the net and be sound defensively. I think you're expected to be able to play in both ends of the ice now. And that goes for your first and second-line players now, too. You can't be a liability defensively no matter where you are in the lineup. So, again, then you get to the Toropchenkos, and these guys who obviously are going to be in the lineup, likely on the 4th line. Kapanen's another guy who they signed to $1 million. I would imagine he's got a spot on the 4th line. He's going to have to play his way off of that. But, he's pretty responsible. I know people expect more from him offensively. I'm one of those because he gets a ton of chances, and he just cannot seem to finish at a consistent level and beat NHL goaltenders at the rate that he probably should. When you look at his overall skating ability and his puck skills and the skills that he brings to the table, he should produce at a higher clip. But it's not always about production. And I don't think he's going to be in a position this season where the team is going to rely on him to produce offense. And any offense he's going to give this team is going to be considered a bonus. So I've got him kind of pegged in as a 4th-line guy with Toropchenko. If Sundqvist can come back, then obviously, he's centering your 4th line, unless Foxa gets pushed down to your 4th line. So, listen, there's competition, don't get me wrong. It just may not be high-end competition, but there's a lot of bodies and there's only so many spots. So they got to get down to their 23. The preseason games are going to be more meaningful this year than maybe they have been in the past. Not to say that they haven't been important in the past, but you know what I'm getting at. Couple of notes around the league real quick. Luke Hughes from the New Jersey Devils. Did you see that he got hurt in a off-ice training incident? So he's going to miss like up to 2 months. This guy was a Calder Trophy finalist last season, so he's not going to be available for the Devils. So that hurts the Devils for sure. So you hope that he gets back and he's going to be able to be healthy and contribute and show what he can do, man. I was excited about watching him play in his second full season as a NHL D-man. Crosby, we talked about Crosby last week. We'll see how quickly they are to get an announcement on a contract extension. I feel like if he's re-signing with Pittsburgh, that announcement is going to come before the start of the season. We just had Jonathan Marchessault on the Chemistry podcast from the Vegas Golden Knights, and now he's signed with the Nashville Predators, so I guess he's from the Nashville Predators, but he spent the majority of his career and the most successful seasons of his career playing with the Vegas Golden Knights, where he became a star player, won a Conn Smythe Trophy, scored over 40 goals last season, and became truly a household name throughout the NHL. I love watching him play. And now he's at Nashville, but you can tell that there's a lot of emotion that still hasn't been compressed between he and the Vegas Golden Knights. You got Vegas commenting on his comments that he made on our podcast. There seems to be a different view in terms of how the negotiations went. He says he wanted a 4-year deal. Vegas said they offered a 4-year deal. Well, whenever a team says, well, we did offer a 4-year deal, maybe they did throw a 4-year concept on the table, but it was for far less money. Regardless, the Marchessault camp didn't view it as a real, legitimate 4-year offer, at least in his view, based on what he told us. He says he wasn't even given a 4-year offer. So, listen, I'm just looking forward to the season beginning. I think once he gets on the ice with his new teammates, having the fresh faces that are there, with Stamkos coming there from Tampa Bay, I think he'll be able to settle in and realize, you know what, hey, life is good in Nashville too. Nash Vegas. Instead of Las Vegas, he goes to Nash Vegas. Nashville's going to be good though, man. With Stamkos there and O'Reilly obviously coming in last year. With all the other pieces they've had, I'm looking forward to seeing just how good they are and how quickly they can come together. Nashville, pay attention to Nashville. All right, let's take care of some business, and then we'll get out of here and bring in Mathieu Joseph, who's going to join me here in just a couple of minutes. Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. They've got all these different loans, man. I talk about these back-to-school loans, the home loans, the great options they have for first-time home buyers. Call First Community, ask some questions, and ask about all these different loans that I'm going to tell you about. And find a way to make your money work for you. And find a way to save money. First-time home buyers, though, man. They've got these loans with no down payments. They offer the affordable alternative 5-year adjustable rate mortgage with a lower rate and a 30-year term to keep your payment more affordable. But they've got no down payment, no closing costs, and no PMI, the private mortgage insurance. So check that out. If you're a first-time home buyer, First Community, baby. Nobody does it better than First Community. The back-to-school auto loans. Are you kidding me? Like, most places have different rates for a new car versus a used car, and not a First Community. It's all the same. So whether you're buying a new car or a used car, get it from First Community. They've got that 60-month rate for under 6%. You're not going to find that anywhere else than First Community. So check that out. Always involved in youth hockey. Nobody supports youth hockey more than First Community. So if you're looking to get your son or daughter involved, sign up for that Little Blues program and do that today. They also sponsor the Blues Hall of Fame. I'm on the Blues Hall of Fame committee. I submitted my nominations, and that announcement is expected to come down very, very soon. Always excited about that. So First Community, firstcommunity.com. Four Hands Brewing Company, baby. We love Four Hands Brewing Company. That Cam and Strick Mango Lemonade Hard Seltzer back on the shelves September 24th, so check that out. Back for another season. The best hard seltzer you'll find anywhere is the Mango Lemonade Man, Chemistry Podcast Hard Seltzer. They've got all these great hard seltzers. They've got the year-round beers, the seasonal beers, and a lot of the seasonal seltzers as well, including the mango lemonade. So check that out. You can't miss it. It's a matte black can. It's got the blues colors on it. You can't miss it. So check that out and let me know what you think. Rate your favorite hard seltzers. I'm telling you right now, that is the best hard seltzer going. I've never had another one that comes close. I've had some other decent ones. Four Hands makes a ton of great options when it comes to hard seltzers, but their best one. And I'm not just saying it. You can say I'm biased, and I get it, but at the same time, we did a lot of taste testing, and we wouldn't have chosen the one that we didn't like. This is my favorite one, without question. So check it out. Check out all their tasting rooms. They got the one downtown, 1220 South 8th Street. They've got the beautiful tasting room in Chesterfield. They've got the incredible tasting room in Kirkwood now as well. Live music. There's games you can play outside on the lawn in Chesterfield. Food from Peacemaker in Kirkwood. Food from Peacemaker downtown. Food from High Point at the Chesterfield location. They got everybody taken care of. So do that today. Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, baby. The Wallace family. Give it up for the Wallace family. These guys are unbelievable. We love the local ownership, and that's the theme you find with a lot of our sponsors here on Hockey Sense, is all the local partners that we have, including Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. Download that app and do it today. Don't sleep on the party goods. They've got so much great stuff happening there with Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop. If you're having fall parties, Halloween parties, Thanksgiving get-togethers, start planning now. Get all your beer, wine, and booze from there, including all the great Four Hands Brewing Company products. You can get all of those from any Dirt Cheap Fun location. But they've got cigars. They've got that walk-in beer cooler, but all the party supplies, the paper goods, the decorations, you can find all of that, man. You'll be surprised. It's incredible. Download that app and get the great specials they have. They have got tons and tons of deals on their app. 314 Sports Cards. Does anybody do it better than Devin Sant? He is the absolute best in the business. 9640 Olive Boulevard. They've got the best selection of hockey cards you'll find anywhere. And I've had some big dog card collectors, people who are into like baseball cards and football and MMA and MLS, soccer, PGA. They collect everything. But they're always like, man, nobody has better selection of hockey cards than 314 Sports Cards. And they'll say, hey, have you taken your kid to 314 Sports Cards? I'm like, have I? Yeah, of course I have. Devin's my man. Can't join us this week, but he'll be back with us next week. Devin Sant, 314 Sports Cards. These guys are the absolute best. They had Trent Frederick in there recently. I mentioned all these new Blues players. They'll have those cards. They got all the individual cards too, which is what I love. Sometimes you go to like a hockey shop or whatever, you're required to spend all the money on these boxes, and it's not always cheap to do that. But sometimes you just want a pack of cards for your kids. That's what we used to do when we were kids. You get a pack of cards. You don't have to buy a whole box. You go there, you can buy a pack, and they've got the individual cards too. So if you're looking for a specific player, they can track that down for you. Devin and his incredible staff are the best in the business. So check that out and do it today. 314 Sports Cards. And of course, Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone something special. Do it today. Best selection of engagement rings. You won't find anyone who does it better than Mike and Jimmy Lordo. They've been around for almost 70 years, if you can believe that. So stop on in, right in the heart of Ladue, 314-432-8008. Tell them I sent you. Nobody does it better than Lordo's Diamonds. LordosDiamonds.com, baby. Let's step aside. We'll come back. Mathieu Joseph, the newest member of the St. Louis Blues, along with some others. His brother, POJ, is also here. They got a bunch of guys that have come in, but this guy has won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay. Really, really successful junior hockey career playing in the Quebec League. 4th-round pick at Tampa Bay. He's coming from Ottawa. He's confident. He's going to have a role on the team. We're going to have a fun conversation with him coming up next. Don't go anywhere. All right, back here in Hockey Sense. Great to have you with us as always. Hockey is in the air. Being at the rink the last couple of days, we actually have the rookie tournament starting today. Mathieu Joseph about to join us. First thing off, Mathieu, because it wasn't that long ago where you're coming into the league, you're a prospect. I saw how hard those guys were skating today, by the way. And I see what you guys were doing. And not that you weren't skating hard, but it was a little bit of a different pace what they were going through with like 6 coaches on the ice, putting them through a pretty hard practice. Are you ready to get going? And what are you thinking when you see those young kids skating as hard as they were today?
Yeah, I mean, camp is hard for everybody. Obviously, after doing it a couple years, you kind of know what to expect now. But I remember my first couple of rookie camps and the def camps, and you had to be ready because it was demanding physically and mentally as well. I mean, it's, after a couple of days, your hips, some part of your groin sometimes hurts a little bit. Little bumps here and there after skating this hard, but it's the new NHL, and every camp is hard, and but yeah, I definitely saw these guys were working hard today. It's good that they had a good day.
All right, so I do a podcast with Cam Jansen too. We've got guys that come on all the time, and they're always talking about, some guys who played for like John Tortorella, talking about how hard that training camp is. Like, who's the coach that you've had throughout the course of your career that put you through the grind, Matthew? That had the toughest training camp.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, my last couple of years in Ottawa and Tampa were really hard camps. But I gotta say, I think my Syracuse first year in the AHL with Ben Grew was all year really. He was a demanding coach, and but he made me better. And you either had to accept the challenge of having a hard camp or hard practice, or you just folded. And hopefully, clearly I tried to see that positively. Obviously, not every day I wanted to practice this hard, even if you want to get better every day. But sometimes it's tough mentally playing so much and practicing so much. So I gotta say that my hardest camp was definitely the Syracuse one, probably.
You're coming to St. Louis, a first training camp as a Blue. You get traded here from Ottawa. Does it feel like, not like you're a rookie because you played almost 400 games in the league, but still it's new, right? I mean, I don't know how many of the guys that you know here. I'm sure you know a number of them just because you've been in the league for so long, but still, does it feel a little bit different being in unfamiliar territory?
Yeah, crazy enough. Actually, you said knew a couple guys, but maybe I met one or two guys before, and that's including my brother. So, obviously, it's a transition to come to a new team. Met the guys the last couple of weeks, so obviously some new guys as well. So we're kind of all in the same boat, and but no, the guys have been great so far. Everyone has welcomed me so well, and from the training staff, from the equipment guys to the players in the team and the coaches as well. So. No, it's a big transition for sure. And, I like the vibe around the room also. We're young guys. We're all very similar age, a couple of really good veterans as well, and young guys. So, no, it's exciting for sure for me.
Yeah, I was talking to Radek Foxit today. He doesn't know anybody either except Ryan Suter, basically, who he just played with in Dallas. Listen, you've seen it all, man, already. At a young age, you've been at the very top. You've played with legendary players in Tampa, and you've been in a situation in Ottawa where the team obviously has missed the playoffs. So you understand, but does the mindset change? And what's the impression you've gotten from St. Louis so far, even though training camp hasn't even started? You got some guys here who have won before, and even when you win as an organization, even though a number of guys have left, you still have a general manager who is here and a number of other people. So that carryover of winning, I think you can probably still feel it a little bit here in the organization, even though a number of players aren't here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some guys that have played long times in this league as well. And, there's some guys that have won with this team. And, to bring a winning mentality, you have to have some guys that have experienced it. And, there's definitely some of that here. Obviously, last couple of years being in different organizations, definitely different. It's definitely different. But you know what? Like I said, I think we have a good young core with a mix of some veteran that, like I said, have experienced some hard playoff series and some winning as well. So I think when you bring all this experience together and the speed of our game this year, I think we're going to be an extremely fast team, and that's going to be exciting for sure. To see for the near future.
All right, I want to go back to your days in Tampa. And listen, we know John Cooper really, really well, known him forever. He coached Tier 2 junior here in St. Louis years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't even think he was ever going to leave. I'm like, Cooper, you want to be a coach, you're going to have to leave. But he was like living the life here as a Tier 2 coach even back in the day. Everyone pretty much knew who he was. But who from those teams, I mean, the Stamkos, the Kucherovs, the Braden Points, all these guys that have been around and had a ton of success, who made the biggest impression on you? Who were you closest with from those teams in Tampa who really had an impact on you as a player?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, obviously, Cirelli's not the easiest guy to talk to outside like in the off season. He's not very on his phone and stuff. He's very not reserved, but I would say he just doesn't really text much in general. And we try to FaceTime here and there, but it was definitely a guy I was really close with. Ross Colton, I still talk here and there, but we just went to Tyler Johnson's wedding actually. And some of these guys were there, and Palat, McDonough, Johnny was there, Gord, that was probably the biggest mentor I've had in Tampa. He's taking me under his wing, and so I would say that these guys were guys that I still keep track with a little bit more, and obviously we were a tight group over there, so seeing each other like that a couple of weeks ago. Patty was there as well. I'm forgetting a couple, but I think after leaving and experiencing this much joy and this much hard work together, it's these guys. It's guys that we're always going to be close with each other, and it could definitely show a couple of weeks ago when we were at that wedding.
Yeah, Yanni Gord, man, he's built like a tank. That guy.
Yeah,
man,
relentless, smart player, relentless, and just works his balls off, and always respected his game with a big R in front of respect, and always just loved his attitude towards the game, and sometimes a little hard on himself, but that's what makes him great, actually.
Yeah, no doubt. Cirelli's a hell of a player too. But I've talked with guys like Patty Maroon. We had Zach Bogosian on recently. Like, there's something about when you win, the tightness and the bond that's created. Like, even if you guys aren't all playing together, I'm sure you go to a wedding, with Tyler Johnson, a popular guy who's been around for a long time. You guys kind of pick up where you left off, right? You're always going to have that bond with one another when you win a championship.
100%. And it was like we were in the same team still, and I know some more of these guys would have liked to come. Obviously there's so many weddings during the summer just for most of these guys, and it's not easy to attend all of them, but no, it's for sure. You're always a little bit nostalgic of the great time you spend together, and like I said, the hard work that this team has put together in the last couple of years. Obviously there was some downs as well. These guys all went through almost all went through this, being first in the league and winning the President's Cup in 2018-19 and getting swept that year too. So it's not just the winning part, it's the hard work that comes with it, and the ups and downs you go through with these guys day in and day out. And when it pays off, so obviously it's hard to how to say that, it's hard to take that ball away.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching you in the World Juniors back in 2017 because my boy Lukey Cunningham was the captain for Team USA, and I don't like to bring that up, man, and Clayton Keller was on that team. But what an experience for you, right? I mean, a Canadian kid growing up and playing in that tournament. I think it was in Canada too, wasn't it? Tell me if I'm wrong about that.
No, you're right. It was in Montreal, actually, the final where I'm from, which it was my first couple of games playing in Bell Center. I've never played there before. It was always a dream of mine, obviously. Being from Montreal, having some family in town, and that was pretty special. I've never heard the Bell Center that loud before, even attending games. So no, it was cool to first of all put the Canada flag for the first time in my career, and to be able to play a final at home. Obviously, sadly, we lost in the shootout, and it was a close game, a really good game actually. But it was a crazy experience for me to have, and I'll never forget that World Juniors, that's for sure.
Yeah, you had a great junior career too with St. John, getting to the Memorial Cup and all that. But I'm curious, like growing up, you and your brother, do you call your brother Pierre Oliver, by the way? Do you call him P.O.? What do you call him?
I call him P.O. or Pudge, like P.O.J., like Mathieu Joseph. I kind of like him. I like Pudge.
Are you guys living together here in St. Louis right now? Like, how's the setup?
Yeah, he's down on the couch or rolling, probably stretching right now, I think.
So, were you competitive growing up? Like, did you push each other? Like, you were a 4th-round pick. He's a 1st-round pick. You're a forward. He's a defenseman. You played on 2 different junior teams. But how'd you guys really get into the game and develop into, now becoming, NHL players?
Yeah, well, our dad was playing hockey since he's young. We have always attended his games, or even if it weren't crazy high level, it was fun to go to games. We actually started figure skating first. And then we learned how to skate, and then a couple of years after that we started hockey. So we already knew how to skate before. And then after that, honestly, we were a family of sports. Like my mom played sports. I've done in pretty much all the sports that you can think of growing up, tennis, golf, soccer. I played soccer until I was 16 years old, and volleyball and little things like that, ping pong at home. So we were always competing. I wouldn't say we were as close growing up because of all of our activities. We were at home and school, and our schools were different. But I would say in the last 10, 15 years, we've become really close, and from playing against each other in the Q or in the AHL or in the NHL, and living together during the summer and working out together, being on the ice together, definitely made us closer. And he's a great competitor, and he's a guy that knows me by heart as well. And it's always been fun growing up to compete against him, and it's fun still in practice. Right now in St. Louis, but it's also a guy who keeps me accountable. Like when he sees that I'm too high, he tells me I'm too high. When I'm too low, he brings me up. And he's always been really liked as well with everywhere he's been. Being captain early in his career in Charlottetown, and has really good leadership skills. So definitely lucky for me to be my brother.
All right, so tell me this though, because I was talking to Doug Armstrong about this recently. Like you playing with a guy like Stamkos, for example, Kucherov, Hedman, your brother being with Crosby and Malkin, Letang, all these guys. Like, what does that do for a young player to be around these legendary, future Hall of Fame, legendary, generational players?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to just be grateful about the fact that I was able to practice with them. And, I think it's the same with Pio. I think he's kept a really good relationship with some of these guys. I think Crosby and him were tight, are still tight, obviously, when they were in Pittsburgh. But, I think in general, Stammer and I went through the bubble, kind of grind together. And, he was helping me as well. So I think for us, it's just coming in the league and learning from these guys that have been pros for years and have tried to win as well, and have won in the past too on my brother's side. And the NHL is hard because it's a fast-paced game and everything, but it's also a league of reps. You got to get used to not just the pace of the game, but every little details of the game that have changed from levels to levels, and these guys have mastered it. So you can learn so much from them outside the rink, their preparation, and you can learn so much on how they show up the rink and play or practice. So that definitely for sure is gonna definitely help me, in my young career, and definitely will help me in the future as well on playing with other great players.
Yeah, no doubt. Matthew, the bubble. Oh my God! Like, listen, the Blues when they went to the bubble, because they had won the Stanley Cup before that, and they were on fire, man. Like, leading up to the pause, I mean, they were leading the Western Conference, I think, in points, and primed to really make another run at it and potentially repeat as Stanley Cup champions. And I don't think they were all in when they got to the bubble. I mean, they were a quick exit. They got out of there. You guys stayed through the duration and ended up winning the Stanley Cup. Like, how was that experience for you of just living in the bubble and being there as long as you did, as you were?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, it wasn't necessarily the easiest part. I played a first year in Tampa. Prior to that year, we lost in the first round, and then started in Tampa, played okay. It wasn't playing my best hockey, I would say, my second year. So I was on my entry level, got sent down in the AHL and Syracuse, and then COVID happened. So I spent some time in Tampa before we knew what was happening with hockey for the rest of the year. And I ended up being in the bubble with the guys. There was like a kind of training camp to go there. And obviously being with these guys for the last 110 games or so. And then out of 150 in last years, they were able to bring me over there. But, I didn't really get the chance to play in the bubble from playing 11-7 a lot. And, but obviously, being a guy out there, that was more of a, I was helping the guys in general of being, a leader off the ice in the sense that, it wasn't even always easy to be so far away from your family all the time. And you could tell these guys were missing home. And Me not having necessarily a family beside my brother and my family, it was maybe a little easier in a sense. But it was definitely an experience that made me a better player by practicing so much and show me how to win as well. And lucky enough, the year after, I got to play in the playoffs. But definitely a learning experience for me in the bubble, and definitely a grind as well.
All right, so listen, I forget what number you wore in Tampa. You were 21 in Ottawa. You weren't 71.
I was 7.
7. Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, because you weren't 71, because that would be Cirelli. But I see you wheeling around today. You're wearing 71. So how did you come to choose 71? I know you got to make a choice to pay, depending on what the options are. But how'd you decide on 71 here with St. Louis?
Well, growing up, we were family's number. My dad always wore 7 since he's super young. In anything he takes, all the jersey that he's had at home, all 7. So, in Tampa, I had the opportunity to have it. In Ottawa, Brady Tkachuk had it. So I went to my junior number, and I had the opportunity to have a 7 in my numbers this year. And my brother as well, he's taken 77, and for me, it was kind of a mix of my last 2 numbers, and that's how I saw it. And I put the 7 in there and mix of 21 in there too. So I think, obviously having one of my best friends in hockey as well in Cirelli, wearing 71, I think it was a little shout out to him as well. So, I like 71, and it's a little bit of a skill guy number. I'm more of a grinding guy, but no, hopefully it'll do me well.
I like it, though, man. It looks good on you. Brady Tkachuk, what kind of captain was he? A young guy, but obviously just an absolute monster.
Yeah, he's a beast. Works extremely hard, and definitely a leader on the ice in the sense that, he hits hard. He scores big. He scored big goal for us, and vocal out there. So no, it was fun to be part of part of his team in the last couple years. I'm sure he's just going to grow better and even mature even more as a player, as much as he perform in the NHL. He's still super young, and having a captain like that in a city like Ottawa, where they love their team and they have a passionate fan base, and it's not easy. So hopefully he does well. And it was fun. Like I said, it was fun to be part of it for sure in the last couple of years with him.
I remember asking him for a scouting report on you when the trade was made, because he said you're a guy that can play with anybody. Like, you can play up the lineup, you can play down the lineup. Like, give me a scouting report on you. Like, what do you bring to the table? I know. Listen, you can be a physical guy. You're not afraid to drop the gloves if you have to. Like, you get involved from that standpoint. You can score some goals. You can chip in offensively. But how do you view yourself as a player, and how do you see yourself fitting in here?
Yeah, I've always been a guy that's very important part of my game is my defensive side. I was never the most skilled guys in just growing up. Obviously my second years I was maybe dominating a little bit, and in junior after a couple of years I was feeling a little more comfortable. But in general, I wouldn't say my strengths are my skills. I think I see the ice well, and I work extremely hard, and I think that's what I want to implement in St. Louis. And but like you said, I think I'm a guy who can fit up and down the lineup. I like to grind it on the third and fourth line, as well as maybe be a little bit more of a defensive player in the first 2 lines. And but I think in general you're going to see pretty much the same from me every night. I'm always a guy who's going 100% and love to be physical and care about my teammates. So hopefully that's what I can bring to St. Louis.
You probably have already been asked this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But how did it work out for your brother to sign here after you were traded here? Were you a big part of that? Were you pushing him to come here, or did it just kind of play out like that?
No, it was I would say it was a little bit of a big coincidence, in a sense that there was some rumor of me being traded last year before season started, and then there was some rumor for me after the 1st of July that I was maybe getting traded as well. So on July 2nd, I got a call from my GM in Ottawa, and he told me I was getting traded to St. Louis, and my brother was actually sitting right beside me on the couch, and He's been talking to a few teams after being UFA for Pittsburgh. So I think, there was a couple of teams involved, and St. Louis was one of them. So it kind of worked out in a sense that, I got traded to St. Louis, and he thought about it after he had some options, and he ended up picking St. Louis, and I think it's going to be a good fit for him.
All right, it was a great clip with your parents. I know you've been asked about this a million times as well, but who high sticked who in that game?
He did. The eye sticked me, and he hit himself with his own stick. That's what happened.
So, I mean, and it was a viral clip with your parents in the stands, but a great family moment, right? I mean, your parents had to absolutely eat that up.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had penalties against each other at all levels, which is kind of funny. In the Q in St. John or in Charlottetown, and in the AHL as well, and and the NHL level. So that's pretty funny. But it was cool that my parents were obviously there for that, and it's we like I said, we're a competitor, and we like to compete on anything, and when we play against each other, it was the same thing. It was competing for a team, and but we always compete a little harder against each other, probably.
All right, I'm gonna let you go here in a minute, but like growing up in Montreal, huge Montreal Canadian fan, like was that your team growing up?
Yeah, of course. I would say them and the Kings back in the days. I loved them in 2000, I think it's 2012 when they won the cup, and they were 8th, I think, in their divisions, and ended up winning it all. And I don't know, I just loved the way they were playing.
Yeah, they knocked out St. Louis during one of their runs, man. They had some great run-ins, and those teams were really, really good. Are you a poutine?
But definitely Montreal, yeah.
Yeah. Are you a poutine fan? You like poutine? I've had it a couple times. To be honest with you, I was in Vancouver this past summer, and it was better in Vancouver than it was in Montreal.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Honestly, sure.
Hey, you want to know the mistake I made in Montreal? I got it from a food truck, like off the street. I thought it would be like authentic, No.
Honestly,
my mistake.
Honestly, but it's funny you asked that because when we have a day with the cup, I brought mine at home, in my hometown back home, in August after we won my second year, and that's what I ended up eating out of it. It was poutine. So I've always been a massive poutine fan, and everyone's known that about me. But I could tell you for sure that the Montreal poutine is better than the Vancouver one.
Okay, all right. No, I trust you on that. And listen, I work on the TV side, so I see a feature coming this year. So maybe we're gonna go on a hunt, man. We're gonna find the best poutine here in St. Louis to see if we can find any, and we'll give it a try and see if it's good, man. See if it's authentic, or maybe you can make it. Bernie Federico, who works on our television side, Hall of Famer player, great player back in the day. He loves his poutine, man. And there's a chef here at the Enterprise Center who will sometimes make him his own personal poutine and bring it to the studio. So you'll have to try that too and tell me if it's authentic or not as well.
I would love to. I would love to. I'll never say no to poutine.
Listen, man, all the best. Have a great camp. Have a great preseason. All the best to your brother too. Give me the scouting report on your brother. What are the Blues getting in him?
Yeah, lengthy defenseman, good skater, smart. I think he has an excellent IQ, good first pass D, and when he has confidence, he's fun to watch. Honestly, he's a guy who jumps in the rush, breaks up play, has a very good stick, plays on both sides of the eye of the puck well, and he's worked on his physics in the sense that the last couple of years he's worked extremely hard in the gym. He's not a guy who gains weight easily. So was I growing up. So I think his physical level has come up a lot. And I think he's still a young guy in the league, but he's definitely smart enough to play in it. So I think his skills gonna take away. But like me, we're two massive competitors that just loves to compete every night.
Yeah. Anybody you're looking forward to seeing here in St. Louis that like maybe you have just noticed the last couple of days who you didn't know much about, but they've caught your attention? Be like, damn, this guy's better than I thought he was.
It's funny because I've talked about this prior to today, and I've been on the ice with the guys the last couple of days, and it's been fun to. I've always really struggled playing against Nick Leddy, and it's been fun to watch him practice. He's a guy that reminds me a lot of McDonough in a sense that they're a very, very good skater. elite athletes on the ice, and I knew that playing against him it was hard, but I didn't know how good he was, and I think so far I've really enjoyed practicing with him. It's fun to have guys like that not just are a veteran, but that plays the game the right way and that are excellent skaters for these.
Yeah, great skater, man. So smooth. Hey, he's like hardly even trying when you watch him play. Like, it looks like he's not even trying, So
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, man. Enjoy St. Louis. I hope you've gotten out and been able to check out some of the spots. I know it's tough, and you'll certainly do that as the season goes along. So great to have you here in St. Louis, man. The fans will be excited about you and your brother, man. So have a great camp, have a great preseason, like I said, and we'll see you at the rink.
Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Me.
Yeah, you got it, man. Take care. Blue Note Roofing, baby. You see it on the screen. That brings us the interview from Mathieu Joseph. Nobody does roofing like Blue Note Roofing. And that's just because they say, hey, Blue Note Roofing. Listen, Dave Novak, man, give him a call today, 314-920-5713. 314-920-5713. Blue Note Roofing. Ask for Dave Novak, man. Gutters, siding, soffit, fascia, roofing, whatever it is you're looking to do. If people get hail damage and all that stuff that's taking place throughout the course of the summer, get it looked at. Get that free estimate. He'll take care of you, man. He'll talk pucks with you. Look for his yellow truck driving around town with that Blue Note all over it. You can't miss it. 314-920-5713. 314-920-5713. Blue Note Roofing brings us our interview each and every week here on Hockey Sense, brought to you by First Community. I told you about First Community in the opening segment. Listen, get in there, ask about all their great loans, the home loans, the auto loans, the back-to-school loans, the great options for first-time home buyers. And if you're looking to get your son or daughter into hockey, Little Blues is the greatest program that exists for youth hockey. It's how my son started. It's how so many of kids who are playing now at a high level, how they got started, through Little Blues. You sign up, they send you all your equipment. You get all your equipment, it's all included. You get like 6 ice times, very affordable price, great coaching, and it's essentially a learn to skate and a learn to play program all wrapped into one. Ages 4 through 9. You got a son or daughter age 4 through 9, get them hooked up into Little Blues and do it today. I want to give a shout out to everybody with the Columbus Blue Jackets, man. This past week, it could not have been easy for all of Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau's family and friends and former teammates. Some incredible heartfelt eulogies from the wives of both Matthew and John Gaudreau. Yeah, if you notice, all of Johnny Gaudreau, and we all know him as Johnny Hockey, affectionately known as Johnny Hockey, and we all call him Johnny Gaudreau. But all his close friends and all his family, they all call him John. He was John to them, and there's something to be said for that. And I really respect that when I hear his close friends call him John. I got to know Kevin Hayes pretty well this past year. We had him on the podcast. Obviously, he played in St. Louis last season. He's been through an awful lot personally, but I know how important Gaudreau meant to him. We talked a lot about his relationship with Johnny Gaudreau when we had him on the podcast. I talked to him a lot about Gaudreau throughout the course of the year. From Meredith Gaudreau, the widow of John, to acknowledge Kevin in her eulogy really says something about their relationship. And I'm thinking about Kevin Hayes as well as the entire Gaudreau family. Of course, Guy Gaudreau, Jane Gaudreau, the parents of Johnny and Matthew, the sisters, everybody, John Davidson on down with the Columbus Blue Jackets. We are thinking about all of you. We really are. That was tough. We came on and did Hockey Sense a few weeks back, just within an hour or two after the official announcement was made, prior to people throwing it out on social media and all that. But when the official announcement came down from the team, we had to come on and do this show very, very quickly right after. And that was not easy. And I just hope they can rest in peace, and I hope the family can find some peace as they continue to grieve. It's not going to be easy with hockey season right around the corner. I mean, this is all they know, really, in terms of John. This time of year, he's headed off to go prepare to play, whether that was in junior or college or as a professional player in the NHL. So think about the Goudreaus and keep them in your thoughts. And think about Meredith. And she announced at the funeral in her eulogy that she is carrying her and John's third baby. So we'll be thinking about Meredith throughout the course of her pregnancy, and we wish them nothing but the best. We really do. Can't wait for hockey season. It can't get here soon enough. I'm looking forward to the rookie tournament. Tonight, if you're hearing this when the show gets released on all the podcast platforms, you'll be able to watch the Blues play Chicago at 7 p.m. on Friday night. Then they'll play Minnesota at 3 p.m. on Sunday. So no Blues game on Saturday, but the Wild and the Blackhawks will play at 6 p.m. on Saturday, all at Centene Community Ice Center. So check that out. Get out there, and this is only going to be here, I think, once every 3 years or so. So it's great to have it in St. Louis, and can't wait to watch these games. I'm going to be out at Belle-Rive Country Club tonight for the Blues Soiree. I'll be emceeing that alongside Blues play-by-play announcer John Kelly, so I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I see some of you out there. If any of you are going to be out at Belle-Rive Country Club tonight for the event, please come by and say hello. And I like hearing from the fans. Anybody who has any suggestions, people you want to hear from, if you want to be a part of the show, if you have any feedback on the show, since we've taken it to the podcast platform, which has been fantastic, by the way. I should have done this a long time ago here at Half Coast Studios. It's been a game changer. Obviously, it's been a game changer for the Cam and Strick podcast, but certainly for Hockey Sense as well. And having Maddie and Aiden and Alex and everybody help us out, Jason behind the scenes as well, has been absolutely incredible. So we couldn't get this done without them as well. So that's huge. But again, First Community brings us Hockey Sense, Blue Note Roofing, 314 Sports Cards, Lordo Diamonds, Four Hands Brewing Company, Dirt Cheap Fun, your one-stop party shop, all our great sponsors. Frida's in St. Louis. I think Frida's, by the way, is opening up a new location in Kirkwood, too, so check that out. They have the one down in Benton Park. Now they've got the new one in Kirkwood. And so Frida's, man, incredible. Well, actually, that's station number 3. Frida's is in University City off North and South. But they also own station number 3. So station number 3 is down in Benton Park and now in Kirkwood. Same ownership. A lot of the same food. Great food. Natasha Kwan is the chef, and she just got named, I think, best chef in St. Louis by St. Louis Magazine. So anyway, so congratulations to Natasha and everybody else affiliated with station number 3 and Frida's. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Hockey Sense. We'll do it again next Friday. Gets released on all podcast platforms every Friday. So thanks to everybody involved with this show, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Mathieu Joseph. We'll do it again next week, everybody. Have a great weekend.